Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and I am so excited to be doing this reading for Black History Month. And in general, I like to do readings on, individuals who are historical figures and had a very strong impact in the world. Being that it is Black History Month, Madam C.J. Walker is someone who is considered in the Black community as a motivator, an entrepreneur, a mover and shaker. She was someone who was a pioneer of her time, really, and during a time of slavery, in a time where people didn't have freedom until after of course, the Emancipation Proclamation. She was someone, that has stood out in the history books and in history as a historical figure, very prominent. And so I'm going to be talking about who she is and what she contributed to the world, especially to the African American community, and also to the world, and her impact and what spirit, her spirit says, and what my spirit guides tell me as well. So I will start by saying that those of you that don't know who Madam C.J. Walker was, she was a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. She did label herself as a hairdresser, someone that specialized in African American products for females, African American females, beauty products, hair care products. So she was born and raised in Louisiana, for those of you that don't know. And her parents were slaves on a plantation. But when she was born around the time where there was the Emancipation Proclamation, which is basically, for those of you that don't know, freedom for all Black people, basically being free and no longer having to be slaves. So that guaranteed them freedom. And so from there, she married early on. These are things that are already facts that are out there. So I'm going to start off right there and say that, I do feel like in many ways that the way things were back then, a lot of people in the early 1900s and 1800s is not like the way that things are now. There was a lot more of things that people would deem as inappropriate. So I do feel like she did, marry this man that was much older than her, when she was so young, like 14, 15 years old, she was already into her first marriage. And I do feel like that kind of, in many ways, was kind of like a way for her to get away from all of this, these things that were going on, the slavery, the way that African Americans were being treated. Because even though the Emancipation Proclamation was going on and there was freedom, there were still people that were slave owners that didn't want to free people. So, and there was still racism, as it is still prevalent today. So there was a lot of that going on. I do feel from a very young age, she was a very mature soul, someone that came to earth with a specific purpose. She knew more or less a lot of things about life from a very, very young age, and for her, she was going to be successful. That was her mission when she came here to earth, to accomplish what she had to accomplish. I do get that she was very eccentric, and I do feel like in a previous life she would have been someone that was wealthy. So coming into this life, it was kind of like a shocker for her in some ways to kind of grow up in a more of the poor lines of growing up. And so she knew, after she started doing some different kind of jobs, she worked a lot of different jobs, like a lot of us do, when we're first starting off, and that kind of, helped her. Every job kind of propelled her soul forward in becoming very successful. Of course, when you're an entrepreneur like Madam C.J. Walker is, and of course that is not her actual name. She was born under the name Sarah Breedlove, so that was her actual name. But then she adopted the name Madam C.J. Walker after she married, her husband. So, she was someone that's considered an African American entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a political and social activist. She had a lot of she was like someone who is like a Bill Gates in our modern times, but for the Black community, she is someone that I decided to do this reading on because she's so amazing and so inspirational in what she did and what the things that she had to face. She did have a lot of competitors, and that also were doing hair care products. Just like with any product, you're going to have competitors out there who want to imitate you or say that you copied their brand. So she had to face a lot of ugly energy and a lot of ugly personalities. She did have one daughter, but I do feel like when I'm tuning into her soul, she is telling me that she did want to have more children, but for whatever reason and circumstances in life, she didn't have time to really focus on that. She was really focused on her business and her brand. And this lady, the energy that's coming through when she's is when I'm channeling her energy in her soul, is that she is telling me that she was constantly on the go. There was never a downtime for her once her business started picking up. She had a lot of people that she employed, so she gave people jobs. She was like this huge company, and it grew, and the numbers that she hired were up in the thousands, and having these people going and marketing her products for her, becoming a spokesperson for the brand of Madam CJ Walker, and her hair pomades, or the hair products that she was selling. So there was a lot of this energy that she's saying that she didn't want to not succeed. She always had this mentality that she was going to be known for her hair care products and for her beauty products, and regardless of she wanted to make her family proud, and she knows that she did it. But she also knows that she wasn't very happy, because she's saying that there was a lot of things that were going on. Her marriage wasn't perfect. There was a lot of imperfections in her marriage, in her relationships. And I also feel like, there was cheating going on as well in her relationship. Not her, but necessarily, but her, her husband at the time. I also feel like there was a lot of arguments. She would have faced abuse of some form during her lifetime. So she did kind of turn to food as a coping mechanism, as a lot of us do when that happens. And this kind of contributed to unhealthy, eating habits that kind of led to, kind of a little bit of weight gain or weight issues during the time. She's saying that she didn't necessarily see herself as beautiful, but she did go through transformations in different kind of phases. So, her hairstyles that we see here is a lot different. She's sporting, more of a different, more relaxed type of hairstyle in this photograph, and of course she had a lot of money. This is someone that you're talking about, being a black lady in a time of slavery, and a time of, the Emancipation Proclamation in the early 1900s. It's still, people were not accepted. She had, upon her death, was worth about 600,000, which is equivalent to about $8 million right now. Had she been alive, in this time frame, would she be very successful? Definitely, even more so. But she was definitely a pioneer, and I feel like she's very pivotal to the movement, the Black History movement, and people, all of us out here. That if you have a dream, you need to follow it and go through with it, because a lot of people give up on their dreams. But Madam, is telling me, Madam CJ Walker is telling me that she didn't give up on her dreams, and she kept, whatever she had to do, she did it. Whether it was sleepless nights, staying up into the late hours, throwing parties, going to people's homes and meeting with the groups of people, because I see her like kind of meeting with groups of women and talking about her products, and doing a lot of this, and then training them to go and recruit people. So it was like recruiting a lot of different people to represent her and her brand. I do feel like she was very hated by a lot of people that were white in that time period, and this is not about race, but really and truly it is about race in this particular time period that we're discussing, which is the early 1900s. And I do feel like there was a lot of white people, white women that were very prominent and rich, that tried to tear her down and really, try to talk bad about her hair. She's telling me, Madam C.J. Walker is telling me that she also had people that were coming against her, saying that her product caused irritations to their scalps, or that it caused them to have adverse health reactions, you know. So she had to undergo a lot of criticism, skepticism, and a lot of adversities to get to where she was, but she never stopped fighting and going forth, you know, to become this famous person that she is known as today. And her legacy lives on through her through the bloodline, you know, that is now you know, representing her brand. And still, you know, Madam C.J. Walker is someone that is respectable. When you hear that name, you know, you immediately identify her as being a pioneer in her time. She is telling me that, you know, she did have the money to help people, so she did help a lot of organizations and people that were needy. She did give a lot of that money, so it wasn't like she held on to it. I don't feel like she was a greedy person at all. She had a good soul, but yet she did have this spunk in her, and this kind of like, I want to say, attitude towards people, but it wasn't so much that she was being bitter, but more so like, you know, she didn't trust a lot of people. She knew she had to be very careful. So was she an intuitive? I do feel like she was very intuitive, and she also knew about, you know, magic. I want to say she was very spiritually cloaked and protected. When I tune into her soul, you know, I do feel like she has this powerful aura and this powerful protection all around her, being that she grew up, you know, in that kind of phase and came from a family in Louisiana. You know, Louisiana is known for, you know, having a lot of that and, you know, a lot of spiritual influence on people. So regardless of the time period that she was in, but I do get that she is someone that is happy, you know, where she is now. She her legacy continues to live on. A very respectable lady. I do feel like upon, you know, her passing, it is documented in, you know, that she passed from kidney problems, but I pick up that she had different other problems with her health. She would have had a high cholesterol. I also get that she would have had some cardiovascular issues, a lot of fluid buildup. I also feel like she had some issues with her spine, perhaps like some swelling, some fibromyalgia. She had a lot of different conditions, and also diabetes, which I feel like went undiagnosed at some point, but she did have that as well, and that's what I'm picking up from her, which led ultimately to her passing. But again, I feel like, you know, things that are documented that are a little bit different. She did pass around the age of 50, you know, being in her 50s, so it's like kind of, you know, she passed pretty young. She didn't, but at the same time, you know, the life expectancy during this time for a lot of people was a little different because, you know, the living conditions that she lived in. She was, of course, born in the 1800s, so the late 1800s. So it's not like, you know, she was born in today's society where there's modern technologies and conveniences and stuff. But you know, she is going to be someone that is always recognized and respected for her hard work ethic, and she's very proud of today's entrepreneurs. And basically she's saying that, you know, she sees a lot of these hairstylists and people that are, you know, doing, whether you're white or black, she's aware of it, and it's just like she sees the beauty that people are bringing into the world, and she is glad that she was a pivot of, you know, a staple of this that kind of initiated the spark and the revolution in the beauty industry. So I want to thank you for tuning in. This was my reading on Madam C.J. Walker. Blessings and love and light. If you did like this reading, please give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you would like to set up a private reading with me, you can go to my website at www.raymondguzman.net/shop. Blessings and love and light. Have an amazing day.